Everyone blamed the European for syphilis. Everybody did. And we're going to talk about the Tuskegee Project. All right. In the Tuskegee Project, the participants already had syphilis. So you had one group of people that were tested for it and they had it. They were just never told. And then you have another group of them that did not have it. And out of the total, some of them, 100 of them died from what was treatable. Now, the issue here is that this was a voluntary project. Furthermore, they already had the syphilis prior to going into the project. The issue that was brought to the forefront and is made so popular in the world is because of the 100 males that passed away. Whether or not it was from syphilis, they want to basically accredit syphilis to being the cause of their death. The syphilis being the cause of their death. Out of all of those that volunteered to do this project, how many of them reported that they were raped? Because if they didn't report that they were raped, or if there was no mention of this at all, it becomes their own personal fault that they died. Them being treated for the syphilis of which they would not have acquired unless they were raped, they acquired on their own behalf of engaging in sexual engagement. Now, if they're claiming that it came from the Europeans, that would imply that they were either having gay sex or they were having sex with white women, or you could even say with mixed people, mixed breeds or whatever. It could also be blacks, but again, who are they getting the syphilis from? How did they get the syphilis? That's one, because it's only transmitted sexually. And with that, there's leverage to speak on the behalf of rape. Who's the one doing the raping? And if there is rape being done, again, bring into question who's the one who's doing the raping. The reason why I say this, why do I bring it up? If you're being overpowered by another male and they're raping you, and then you're not saying anything about it, for one, you need protection. So basically, if you're a male that's being raped by another male, unless it's gang rape, then you need protection from another male, or I guess female, to protect you, which means that you have no business making children because you're gay. No, you are. You're gay, or you can't protect yourself from another dude. Or, I mean, I guess if you're young, that calls things into consideration. If you're younger, if you're a child, but as a man, being raped by another dude, and you ain't whooped their ass, there's a lot of questions that I have there. The next thing is it's nobody's job to treat your syphilis. Because why? Because you're raping somebody's potential wife, or you're laying down having homosexual relations, and they were able to get these volunteers from a school. Who's the one that's providing the education? Let's look into that. Okay, so 600 black males that went into this study for the Tuskegee Project. It is Tuskegee University, and that is a historically black college in Alabama. So let's look at Tuskegee University. It's a private, historically black land grant university in Tuskegee, Alabama. It was founded on Independence Day in 1881 by the Alabama legislature. Campus was designated as the Tuskegee Institute National Historic Site by the National Park Service in 1974. The university has been a home to a number of important African American figures, including scientist George Washington Carver and the Second World War's Tuskegee Airmen. The Tuskegee University offers 43 bachelor's degree programs, including a 5-year accredited professional degree program in architecture, 17 master's degree programs, and 5 doctoral degree programs, including the Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. Tuskegee is home to nearly 3,000 students. Tuskegee's campus was designed by architect Robert Robinson Taylor. He hardly looks black, but okay. Robert Robinson Taylor was the first African American student enrolled at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the first accredited African American architect, when he graduated in 1892. All right, so that was the one who designed the architect. The first African American to graduate from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, in conjunction with David Williston, and he was the first professionally trained African American landscape architect in the United States. He designed many campuses for historically black colleges and universities, including Tuskegee University. He taught horticulture and landscape architectures. The first professionally trained, architect for landscape. Okay, it was founded in 1881 on July 4th as the Tuskegee Normal School for Colored Teachers. Interesting that he said for colored teachers, not students. This was a result of an agreement made during the 1880 elections in Macon County between a former Confederate Colonel W.F. Foster, who was a candidate for re-election to the Alabama Senate, and a local black leader. And this was back in 1880, mind you. So Lewis Adams, this was an African, now he definitely looks black, was an African American former slave in Macon County, Alabama, who was best remembered for his work in helping found the school in 1881 in Tuskegee, Alabama, which grew to become the Normal School, that with its first principal, Booker T. Washington. Okay. So W.F. Foster offered that if Adams could persuade the black constituents to vote for Foster, then Foster, if elected, would push the state of Alabama to establish a school for black people in the county. The majority of Macon County's population was black, so black constituents had political power. Adams succeeded and Foster followed through with the school. The school became a part of the expansion of higher education for black people in the former Confederate states. Well, now, if you're saying that majority of the population in this Macon County is black people, who are these, who are these ones that had the syphilis getting this syphilis from? Okay? Because syphilis has a legacy of being blamed on white people. Okay? And furthermore, the white people were also dragged for filth on behalf of this Tuskegee project, in which the project basically, all it did was test a syphilis that was already in their body. Okay, so out of these 600 black males, over half of them had syphilis. They already got it from wherever they got it from. Okay, and they were never told that they had it. Um, and their death is being accredited to being the fault of the people that were following this information, the medical information. If you leave it untreated, what happens? Well, about half of them that already had it ended up dying. Not on the behalf of anything that these white people did, it's on behalf of the sexual practices of these said people. They're having sex, they're not married, they're in school at a university. You've got it to where you're talking about Confederate colonels, all these blacks that are basically, they're all male, and they're running for candidacy for Senate and all this, and they're leaders and this and that. Well, here's a school that's a university. You've got people that are doing architecture, and these are all basically black people. The county is made up of predominantly black people, and they're having evidently unprotected sex, and they're not married. They're in college, university, and then the blame is going on to those who knew about them having syphilis but didn't treat them. Why should it be their responsibility to treat them? See, the thing is that people want to participate in certain things, and sure, all right, you're going to school, good. All right, you're trying to better your education, wonderful. I missed the part where it is the white people's fault as to why they ended up getting this syphilis to begin with. Why are they having unprotected sex? Is that not their own fault? For what reason are they having unprotected sex, and with whom are they having unprotected sex? Now, the issue comes into question is, as far as the population who they may have gotten it from, why do they have syphilis? Where did they get the syphilis from? And to whose benefit is any of this? The unprotected sex, the passing on of the syphilis, the knowing and not knowing if you have syphilis, and in all of that, who is actually engaging in this activity, for what reason? What are people's motives? And why are they engaging in this activity? What benefit would it be for the male? What benefit would it be for the female? What benefit is it to who and for what? Why is all this sex going on? Unprotected sex. For what reason? How were these males able to be entered into this study was because they were impoverished, what is it called, sharecroppers or something, or whatever they want to consider sharecroppers to be. So they were farmers, basically. Let me go back and look that up as to what word was used to describe what they were doing. Okay, so yes, sharecropping is animal husbandry. There's also a calling into question that syphilis may have came from sheep, pigs, and cattle. It's not been proven, but there's just a theory of it. But anyway, sharecropping, it's basically a legal arrangement in which a landowner allows a tenant to use the land in return for a share of the crops produced on that land. All right. So they are growing crops, or they're tending to the animals. And because of this impoverished form of being, there was no retaliation or no trying to overpower or whatever. There was no trying to come up with a true, reasonable, equitable negotiation between that whole contract. And why so? Because they were too busy trying to incorporate that of which does not, it's not reasonable. The reason why it's not reasonable, the reason why I say that, because there's nothing wrong with being a sharecropper. There's nothing wrong with being a landowner. There's really nothing wrong with any of these dynamics. The issue that we have here is the sex, if we can call it that. First of all, contracting disease. All right, more than half of them had this disease. Who are they getting the disease from? Did any of them report this as a rape? Which means that would only lead me to believe that, okay, so they're engaging in sex with women. All right, so if they're having sex with women, which women would that be when Macon County is predominantly, if not all, black? Why are they having sex if they're impoverished? Why are they having sex if they're not married? They're in the university. Where's the whole sensibility in any of this? Trying to make something work that cannot work. Because the one who is getting left with nothing out of this entire deal would be the women. So to cancel all of that out, rather than to commence to doing this whole let me figure out after I've already had sex, let me try and figure out how to sort out my life. No, the sex part, which comes with the likelihood of children, offspring being produced, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with sex. I'm saying there's something wrong with how people are having sex, how people are promoting sex, how people are advertising for sex. All of this entire thing comes down to sex. Who has a right to sex? Who has a right to having sex? Why would it be justified for either gender to be having sex? Why is it justified for the males to be having sex? Why is it justified for the women to be having sex? Why is any of this justified? And who has more justification than the other? I'm saying that sex should always be on the behalf of consent, which there's been a long history of consent never being at the forefront of anyone's mind. But yet, victims are being made out of those who create victims. And the mainstream victim here being children, as well as women. Women are victims, yes, when they're in a predicament, whereas you're being tied to a party of males who do not value you. They never have. They probably never will. If they did, would we be hearing about 500 plus years of slavery? No. Would we be hearing about reparations for this, that, and the third? No. All that means, all these things mean, when you hear things about reparations for Holocaust, when you hear things about enslaved for 500 plus years, when you hear things about the glorification of pimping and whoring people out, all these are just manifested overt expressions of a devaluation of the counterpart. So for us women who may share genetics does not always mean that we are actually truly tied to them, which is the illusion of ties. Okay, this illusion of ties is just a marker of genocide, contingent on what you're attracted to naturally, as well as that needs to be followed by verbal expression, as well as communication, as well as competence. All right, so for that, when somebody who is victimizing other women, whether they mean to do it or not do it, makes no damn difference. The fact of the matter is they're doing it. They're having sex which they should not be having because they're not husbands. And this belief that, oh, well, not everybody can be rich and not everybody can be king and not everybody can do the bare minimum to provide what another can is an excuse that many use, and they like to use it because it's a form of gaslighting. Basically saying, well, I'm sorry that I'm not willing to not just fight for you, I'm not willing to use my brain to come up with something that will make it reasonable as to why I should have accessibility to your body, which is all, these are all forms of rape, by the way. These are undeniable formations of rape, no matter which way you want to try to construct it. Now, it becomes counterproductive when a female is advocating for somebody who has never done so for her. That is not only disrespectful, it's evil. I won't be advocating for somebody who does not advocate for my well-being, so I'm certainly not going to be advocating for theirs. Furthermore, it's selfish to be here on the behalf of women being raped, to be here not only on the behalf of women being raped, but then also to be benefiting off of making her life a living hell. So you came out of a woman only to begrudge her with struggle, and then trying to make a toleration culture that basically goes, we must permit this because there's no other option. Oh, yes, there is. Africa has displayed there's ways of doing so. They're called all women tribes. Okay? Or you can do marriage. If you do marriage, you're not going into a marriage with the mindset of dragging one's culture of which did not work into that marriage. You don't go into the marriage dragging that culture that did not advocate and did not succeed in keeping you. It does not matter what race you are. If you're going to a man and then having him, trying to train him how to accept an image that's not his own, we have a problem there. There is a problem there. And it's disrespectful to him. And it's disrespectful to you. And it's disrespectful to a future you. You don't go leaving to upgrade or to basically convert only to try to convert the mind of someone who has a better mind. You can maybe uplift it. That's what praise and worship is. But you would never ever go over to the better option and then have the audacity to try to persuade or succeed at persuading to convince the one who you went to basically demolish himself, disrespect himself, and pay homage to that of which could not elevate him. There was no elevation. There's been a dehumanization, perhaps, the theft of children, the theft of resources, the disrespect of home, peace, comfort, life, physical health, mental health, all sorts of things that have been robbed. So if you're going to leave from one party, which you may be there illegally, a lot of us are, we're there illegally. We're there illegally on behalf of a distrustful and misappropriated systemic involvement, of which is still the fault of society more so than the construct itself. It's the society's fault because that's who is employed within its construct. Within the construct are people, and those people come from society. Those societies are educated by universities, which are employed by society. So society is educating society how to create a construct of which they're trying to destruct, but the only way to destruct it is for them to destruct their mentality of idiocies of which are just illogical. It's not the fault of the construct itself. The construct itself is a mirror. It's a mirror reflection of what the society really is. So when people are trying to basically pit the government against the government, it's not going to work. You have to deconstruct the ideology in order to get the construct to align and to be a better foundation. But it's never going to work with this ideology of we the people against that. No, that is we the people. There is no that without we the people. So we the people are fucked up. That's what we have to say. You can't fight this unless you're willing to fight yourself. And I'm fighting myself. I'm going, I can clearly see who is right and who is wrong. There are parties that are right and there are parties that are very fucking wrong. Society is the one that needs the reconstructing. The construct is actually pretty much perfect, honestly, if the guidelines were followed, but they're not. And the reason why they're not is because we the people are the ones that are representing that. So that is not really the problem. It's we the people. We the people are fucked up. How so? We the people are disrespectful to the agency of sex. We're disrespectful to mother and father as a unit. We are disrespectful to men. We're disrespectful to women. We're disrespectful to children. We don't value each other's lives. We don't value ourselves, or we value ourselves so exponentially high that it's just delusional because all that is required. Okay? So then you have it to where the masterful ones that are worthy of being considered such as he or she does not resort to whipping the shit out of people and killing people and going on a tirade, like just ridiculous to get their way. But the way sometimes needs to be had on the behalf of blood because of the blood that's being shed for not doing the killing. So if that makes any sense, there has to be an evil party in order to correct the evil party. And when the godly one, who is actually, doing a service and less of a, not so serviceable. So in order to stop a problem of we the people, in order to stop it, the ideology has to be reconstructed. But due to this failing to acquiesce to the better way of thinking, people want to continue and are stubborn and rebellious and want to drag their feet and say, hell no, I'm not doing it because I'm entitled to practice a religion that is fabricated and is totally false. I'm entitled to raping women that shouldn't be, involved with me, in all honesty. I'm entitled to making up the laws and the rules even though I don't abide by them myself. That's a big one for us. That last one is the toughest one that humans face. I'm entitled to make rules of which I never abide by. That one's tough. But the only ones who do abide by the actual laws are always the ones, always, I said, they're always the ones that are being consequenced on behalf of either breaking their own rules or for following their own rules. Breaking or following their own rules or their own right to rule. So there is a right to rule. And who is a right to rule? It's not ever foreseen or granted or approved by males. Never. It's never introduced on behalf of male. The only one who could give a credit of approval for who is supposed to rule is the woman. All right. So Genesis 16, he said to the woman, I will intensify your labor pains. You will bear children in anguish. Your desire will be for your husband, yet he will rule over you. And then verse 17, and he said to Adam, because you listened to your wife's voice and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, do not eat from it. The ground is cursed because of you. You will eat from it by means of painful labor all the days of your life. Yet he will rule over you. But my desire is not for he who is ruling over me. He who is ruling over me, who's able to make these rules, is who's the one that's using their representation, so who from we the people are using their individual bodies to make rulings within that of which you call the government or institutional power. So we the people, 1, 2, 3, whatever, count. They are employed and they work in that. So here's we the people going and using their individual bodies with that as that to make rulings against us, we the people, that are created by those of which are we the people or foreigner. They came from some other land. Illegally, they're here. Okay, or they're those sharecroppers that end up in Tuskegee projects, of which they got syphilis on their own doing, on their own behalf, engaging in sex, of which they shouldn't be engaging in, because they, the black people that are doing this Senate and whatever, they're living in a community or in a county where it's all black people, and then they're being basically, you can say, yeah, sure, deceptively treated. They're not being treated, they're just being monitored. More than half of them, more than half of we the people are infected with this syphilis, of which they must have gotten either from within that county or from outside of the county. Wherever they got it, they got it. They're in universities getting education from an all black school that is built by black infrastructure, architects. And they're basically getting free land to do, grow food, or to basically herd cattle, whatever, husbandry over the animals. And they're impoverished, so they don't have any whatever, they just have living quarters, and they're able to have their own food supply, and they're really whatever. And they're impoverished. But rather than going and doing a contract with whoever's in charge or whatever, or fighting or doing whatever, coming up, using their brains to come up with something to change that narrative so that the women from we the people are given better odds to justify the sexual engagement in order to reproduce and make another we the people, to make another one of we the people. But this activity is being abstained, and it's being devalued more and more. It's being disrespected more and more, not just by we the people, but then also by foreigners that are coming from elsewhere. And these males that don't adhere to these rules and laws, of which yet he will rule over you. The issue that we have here is he is not who we desire. He who is doing these violations of the rules from that the one who's coming from doing this, going from we the people and going right on over here to being a representative of this. Both this and this is like this. So we the people ends up over here doing that, the government. This is that. Government is we the people. We the people are over here giving out verdicts. So as females we're giving out verdicts, and as males that I, the woman, do not desire. The ruler over me is not who I desire. He's not the one that I long for. So why is this possible to be happening? The belief would be because I told you not to eat from a certain type of tree. Who's telling who to do that? Which one is telling which? And how are they telling them? Are they telling Adam? In which version of the story are we talking about? Did Adam eat from a tree? In which case, who's Adam? Is Adam black, white, Asian, whatever? Whoever that one is, whoever is the father over Adam, how come we don't hear anything about the mother? Where is this wife to this Lord who said that they cursed the serpent? And the serpent is shown as a curse. Anything that's hung on a pole is a curse. America is cursed. The poles, they're cursed. I mean, it's a curse. Anything that has it, the North Pole, that's cursed. Stripper poles, cursed. Curse upon curse. The medical health industry will have a serpent, with a pole. And it's shown as a white one. You have it to where on women's feminine products, you'll see a dark serpent. So who is the one who is being told, don't do this? According to my story, according to my life experience, yes, my white German grandfather told his children, as well as the trespasser, not to do a union. He told them no. He rebuked it. He denounced it. He was not for it. He was against it. And they proceeded to do as they wished. She ended up being abused, but nonetheless, she has not ever stood up and did what a mother should have done. Much like, whoever is a mother to Christ, so Mary, a mother to Christ, being admonished and being praised and seen as a beacon of light by the Catholics, I suppose. How is that glorified if her son, who is the good one, is a representative of a curse? That must have been the only time in history that of which normally devalues us ever really stood up for women and gave everybody a messianic attempt to be Christian. All of these religions of which disempower women, as well as anything that tries to be the goddess without a god, all of them are honestly, they're unacceptable. If you can't have one paired with another, then it's not acceptable. He ruling over me is not. So how is that even possible? How can victims be made out of those who create victims. How can the world have sympathy but not ever sympathize those who are worthy of sympathy? This is a constant problem that the world has yet to overcome. They don't have an ability to sympathize with the men that are worthy to not be hung up on a cross. And they have a strong disability with being able to have sympathy for a woman who was not deceived, she was raped. The pretending that she is not raped just goes to show. Because why wouldn't the one who was responsible somehow for creating a deferring appearance, like we're this color or we're that color, whoever's able to create that division, where's the one responsible for that? Why is it Adam's fault? Probably because Adam blames the woman. But if Adam blames the woman, who is this one who has no wife? We've never heard of their wife. Who is their wife? You're supposed to honor thy father, thy mother. The one who loves to give the rules but never is seen following them is what I'm saying. So Tuskegee Project, meaningless. They killed themselves. They killed themselves by trespassing. Forgive our trespassers as we forgive those that no. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in heaven as it is in earth. Well, and give us this day our daily bread. The mother says, look, those who trespass against me are not worthy of forgiveness, because there's children that are being held captive, that are being created without consent. These children are being created without marriage. They're being created without respect. They're being created despite there being men who are supposed to rule over me, but yet they're not ruling. Females are ruling in his place, talking about family matters in a judicial setting of which is unfamiliar to me. So where's the refund and where's the respect and where's the restitution for the men that we desire with or without a book? Where's it at? Nobody's making payments, nobody's doing any respecting, nobody's going out of their way to try to correct it. So that's why I say what I say. I haven't raised up any army. I haven't made any demands. All I've said is you should be willing to operate free will, something that women have been disproportionately robbed of since a long time, since the dawn of time. Because we're the ones who determine who is elected, not males. Males have nothing to do with it.